Hello and welcome to another podcast by Red Lantern Analytica. I'm your host Vanchinathan and today's session revolves around recent developments in West Asia and the future of connectivity. Over the past few months, West Asia has seen a rapid escalation that has dominated the global headlines. While much of the focus was on the security aspects, there is also a parallel story unfolding regarding the trade maps of the future, especially with reference to the India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor or the IMEC. Joining me today are the founders of IMEConnect Consulting in Israel, Mr. Alexei Podgur and Mr. Yonatan Koyfman. My dear friends, thank you for joining me here today. So
Thank you,
let me
Vanchi.
thank you so much for joining. Let me
Pleasure
begin
to be
with the bigger picture of the current ongoing situation in West Asia. How do you characterize this current regional movement? Is this a temporary crisis that we are witnessing, or is it a fundamental structural shift in the West Asian geopolitics with reference to the ongoing conflict?
Well, Vanchi, I wouldn't define it as a temporary crisis situation. Sure, part of it is the recent developments like the Strait of Hormuz blockade, Iran, the whole region, and the Red Sea, and the pressure on the shipping routes. But the core of what is happening right now is, I think, more structural. It's a transition phase where the trade routes, the logistic infrastructure, the border crossing, the energy, all of that become key to the national strategic planning of both our nations. So therefore, it's not just a crisis situation, it's more transformation of the region into space where all the competitiveness and the security are based not only on foreign policy, but also on logistics and economic infrastructure.
All right.
Yeah, I
Alexei,
will.
what
I
is your
will.
opinion on the same?
Yeah, I just want to add that I'm pretty much sure that in the short, medium term, companies will hesitate to reach beyond Hormuz, which may harm, ports like Jebel Ali and other ports in the Gulf, which is for me is really sad. But this is the situation. And from the other hand, Yonatan and myself met during the last conference in Europe, people who were working with the Oman ports, and they say that they are developed very rapidly. So we see here a change for a long term for sure. And you also hear from logistic companies that if in the past they were choosing the cheapest route, now they're choosing the more resilient route. So after Hormuz, what happened with Hormuz? So you see that they're also changing their minds. They will prefer to pay more for more resilient routes. And that's why I think that there will be a change also for a long term from a business perspective.
As we spoke before about the economic corridors, business perspectives, and the logistical aspects of which the ongoing conflict has affected. Moving forward, one of the main talking points of this IMEC is the 40% reduction in the shipping time. But we must also acknowledge the reality that it actually cost higher transshipment costs. So, how do these costs be mitigated for Indian exporters and the Gulf exporters, particularly those who are moving high value goods like pharmaceuticals and electronics?
So I'll take that one. I think that the most important thing is to create a demand, okay, on this route. More demand you will create, it will maybe lower the prices. It may, not sure, but it may, because there will be more knowledge how to use this truck in a more in a better manner, how to bring more how to bring more things that will move it, which will make it work better and will improve it in the long term. The prices maybe go lower, and that's how it may lower the prices as well. The other things that can be done is to implement right now different measures that can lower the price. We're actually working on it together with Yonatan to make the route safer, which can, for example, lower the costs of the insurance in this truck. Regardless if Saudi Arabia recognize this route or not, we can lower the price of the insurance, but by implementing certain measures that will lower, for example, the insurance prices, basically, also.
Yeah, and may I hop on that as well? IMEC will not necessarily be cheap for all cargo types. I mean, there is some sectors that they are more useful to this IMEC route, like pharmaceuticals, like heavy machinery, like agri-food. These are products that need good time, reliability, and predictability, and that's what the IMEC eventually offers. Not necessarily cheap, but more safe, and that's something that a lot of exporters will need to do much better in this current situation and in the future.
I just want to add one more thing, Vanchi. Maybe it can be a good example. It's like in defense, in defense, when you produce something for the defense sector, sometimes you don't care about the price, okay? You just need the best parts. And this is exactly what IMEC definitely can be also now, for sure, that as Yonatan said, it is designated only to specific goods, which their owners or producers are ready to pay this price because they know that it's worth to take it through IMEC because it's safe, because it's fast, because it will get to their customer in the safest and the fastest way, even if they need to pay more.
All right. You guys have spent most of your time as part of the IMEC consulting in the Israel-Jordanian border. So what we have identified is that this Israel-Jordanian crossing has been more of a primary bottleneck of this IMEC corridor. So on this note, what are the specific physical and the digital upgrades that are required to transform these into a high capacity trade gates? Because you have spent your time in there, so I think you would be more right person to explain this out.
Yeah, first of all, one thing is clear. This is a simple regional choke point. It's the most simplest one, and it's lacking with the technology and the capacity and the human force that needs to be there, the human power that needs to be there. And that is integral part of IMEC being implemented in the field. I think the main improvements required more truck lanes, improved scanner equipment, digital and AI, digital and AI monitoring systems that can monitor the truck through all the desert, that from the Jabal Ali port to the Haifa port or Ashdod port. It's about longer working hours in the boarding itself, the pre-notification system, all of the above. That's something that we need to do in Israel and in Jordan to make it more sustainable for the long term and to make it more practical in the short term as well.
Alexei, would you like to share any aspects on that?
I mean, I have nothing to add on that. I think that Yonatan described it in the best way.
All right. Moving on to our next question of in your recent article that you have written for, you have advocated for the BOT, the build, operate, transfer model for the terminal management. So how would this specific model de-risk the corridor for more of a private company's engagement and of for the Indian companies as well as the Gulf investors who might actually be hesitant in given the current regional volatility?
So I'll take that one. So we're currently doing exactly the research of how such an upgrade of the border crossing, Jordan border crossing, should cost. And we understand that the BOT or PPP model can be maybe the best model to upgrade the crossing because it requires private money, which maybe it requires amounts that maybe the governments don't want to spend, and on the other hand, private sector doesn't want to spend as well. But if they meet together and put on this and invest money on this together, the BOT or PPP definitely could work. And to add a note on Indian companies, we of course think that, for example, maybe one of the best solutions would be that Adani, which already operates the Haifa port, will operate also the Jordan River crossing, at least when it comes to transit containers, meaning those which are coming from Europe to the Gulf or India through the crossing, or vice versa.
All right. Moving on to more of a business-oriented aspect, we have seen most of business companies continue to adopt something called the decoupling, where when the high level diplomacy is sensitive. So, how does this allow IMEC to progress despite the complexity surrounding the Abraham Accords?
Well, our region is often used in the business language as unstable, but we see Alexei and I as stable as an opportunity to grow. I mean, look at the Gulf. All of these unstable years during the 90s, now they're flourishing. Israel is the perfect example for that. We always thrive on the economic and the business side when we are in the most critical times of our existence in the end. That's why, for my opinion, IMEC should not focus not only on the high level diplomacy and grand strategy. We need to start with the business. Why? Because Jordan has already normalized relations with Israel, of course, long time ago. India already maintains very good relations with Israel and with the Gulf. UAE is actively involved for business development in Jordan and so forth. The question is whether we can use logistic infrastructure without making major diplomatic announcement, and we believe that we should and we can do that. Therefore, we should start with the business. Let us create a custom cooperation agreement, establish commercial partnership, initiate pilots like some collaboration like the FTA that we signed recently. Our government signed with your government is the route to success.
And I'll add on that IMEC does not happening because IMEC is happening, first of all, but it could be
on the ground. It's already happening.
Sorry?
It's already happening, yeah.
Definitely. And it could happen in a much larger amounts if businessmen only knew about it. And we know this with Yonatan, okay? I can tell you an example. There was a post on LinkedIn of a guy who spoke about the Syrian route, okay? The Syrian route. Just to let you know, we checked that the Syrian route, if you take a truck from Mafraq, from Jordan, and go up north to Syria, the insurance, you go to Latakia or Tartus, the ports, the insurance for this, 400 kilometers, I think, will cost you 4 to 10 times more than if you take it from Jordan to Haifa, which is, by the way, approximately 100 or 150 kilometers, 3 times less, okay? So I saw a post of a guy that wrote on LinkedIn about the Syrian route, and I put a comment about the route through Israel, and another guy just said another comment and said, this route doesn't work, okay? Lots of businessmen don't know about this route through Israel. They think that because of the war or because of October 7th, there is no such route. There is. We also spoke with European businessmen. We just met one of the largest companies in Europe of logistics, and we talked with them about this route. They didn't know about it, which was surprising. So before we even talk about geopolitics, I think that we also need to talk about the implementation of IMEC in the business level, like to market it more. And that's exactly what we do in IMEConnect. We market the IMEC, and we also connect between geopolitics and business in order to promote it.
Exactly. We are creating eventually a new market between India, the Gulf, the Middle East, and Europe. It's market that doesn't share the same language on the business wise eventually, and there is a lot of opportunities there, and people like they are still stuck in their normal boxes, like through this Belt and Road or through the Suez Canal or through any other place. But you need to create you need to create a new market in the end, and that's what we do. It's a hard job, but we are more than happy to do that and do that together with the Indian sector.
All right. So from this, we have to understand that more or less the business forums, the business companies are not aware of the actual route being existed, and that's where the IMEC Connect Consulting and comes into play in bridging the gap there. All right.
Exactly.
So moving on to our bilateral relation between India and Israel. Earlier this year, Prime Minister Modi visited Israel, where our relationship actually evaluated to a special strategic partnership for peace, innovation, and prosperity. So, on that note, uh, in a practical term, how does this diplomatic upgrade actually accelerate the development of IMEC? And how does this upgradation actually land IMEC in the points such as Haifa?
So what we saw that Prime Minister Modi does, we think that it's very smart. Okay, he's a real leader. Why is he a real leader? He goes. What we see is that he goes to the all the points in the IMEC. You can see during the last 2-3 years, he went to UAE. I think he went to Greece or Cyprus. I'm not sure, or and Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and he meet not only also the business sector in these countries. And what he is trying to do, he's trying to connect between the business sectors like a glue. So he doesn't wait for the logistic IMEC to work in a full capacity. He also creates an ecosystem. So that's how we also work. We see IMEC in two levels. One is like an ecosystem between the countries in the IMEC belt, and the second is the logistic route. Okay, so what Modi does, he connects between all the dots, between all the countries, not only the leaders, also the business sectors. And this is exactly what he did also in Israel when he came to Israel. He also came to the business sector. He took Indian representatives of Indian companies to Israeli companies and connected them. This will eventually build trust, which will connect countries within the IMEC and will promote the IMEC itself, whether it's as an ecosystem and whether it's logistically.
Yeah, we actually been in the Knesset, Alexei. Do you remember that the day
Yeah, of course.
that he came? It was amazing speech that he gave, one of the like historic day of our times, and we see that India is becoming a market that cannot be ignored anymore. I mean, more than 1 billion people, the third largest economy in the world. That type of the partnership that Israel has to do more to integrate and implement and to promote, and the IMEC is a perfect point for that in the startup industry, in the innovation industry of the Israeli companies, and India have so much to offer to the world and to Israel, and vice versa. And we are working with Indian players, and we are sure aware of that. I mean, you can see the significant relationship between us thanks to the Adani participation in Haifa, as we mentioned before. And I mean, the government of India already saw how strategic point Haifa can be turned into, and that's crucial, especially in the corridor type, especially in anchor points of new dynamics and new architecture between the countries.
Moving on to a technical aspect of the India-Israel relationship. Um, is the vision of this unified digital transit document a feasible solution to the crisis? And what role can India and Israel play in drafting this digital custom passports? And how far is this is coming into play? And can other countries in the West Asian region as well adopt this technical aspect?
Yeah, I will go with that. I think that part of implementing IMEC is through this unified digital transit document, through a lot of documents actually. And we have seen expertise in the Indian and Emirates front on that, on the custom level. And that's something that Israel is lacking eventually. We need to start gradually, not with ambitious regional document that can require decades to implement. I suggest start with one pilot case, one cargo category, and several companies and exporters that understand this and what we want to experiment. For example, it could be pharmaceuticals, electronics, I don't know, spare parts, perishable products from India to Europe through the Gulf, but it needs to combine all this necessary element, the certificate of origin, the custom declaration, the insurance, the seal number. I mean, we have technology here in Israel that uses e-seal exactly for that. Temperature data, specifically for pharmaceuticals and agriculture, security clearance, because we know the security issues on the border between Israel and Jordan from the terror and smuggling to Israel. So that should be part of it as well, and eventually the final destination, of course. So we have India with the good digital solutions and Israel with good cybersecurity technology to design this document eventually. And it will be better if we design a unified digital transit document for one cargo category initially and then move on.
All right. Moving on, IMEC is not just about the movement of corridors or ships. It is also about the digital and the energy spine it actually carries, with reference to the undersea data cables and the green hydrogen pipelines. So, how does this corridor actually provides a sustainable framework for this kind of trade that we see in the region?
So I'll take that. IMEC is eventually about security. If you know that, and we know that to move cargo through Israel is more safe than other routes, so we can also be sure that the pipelines, the hydrogen pipelines, and the cables will be also safer. And this is very basic. I heard people, experts, talking about moving cables through Syria. I have lots of respect to Syria, by the way, but I heard from people, from experts, they say we prefer not to do it. Okay, so eventually, IMEC through Israel can demonstrate the cargo IMEC. I mean, the logistics IMEC can demonstrate to the players that it's not only safe to move cargoes through Israel, but also to put hydrogen pipes and cables. And by the way, Israel is a well-established center for data cables. We know that we have two or three major cables which are going through Israel already, and we have no issues with that up until now. And also about energy, we know that energy are moving through Israel, and it also works well for our neighbors. So this shows to the partners in the region that taking those elements through Israel is safer.
May I ask something, Vanchi, about the energy part on your end, if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
I
sure, sure.
saw a lot of reports that because of the blockade in Hormuz and all this crisis in the energy and the oil front, India may be considering start producing on its own through their own natural resources. So, I mean, for your use, eventually for your country, but through to export in the end. So maybe that could be a great ground to work on. I know that Europe wants to diversify their energy immediately. So wanted to know what India's plan on that.
So firstly, we actually prioritize most of our products are indigenous in nature under the Make in India initiative, and the secondly is on how we prioritize our energy security, because most of our exports of oil actually comes from the Gulf region and from the Russian side. But
Yeah,
if we consider the ongoing situation, if it continues. Uh, if it continues to be in a conflict driven region, then I think it's time that we actually adopt to a place where we intend to produce the energy needs of the country, because on a huge population like India, tons and tons and tons of energy actually is being
exactly.
intaken every day. So I think it's high time we produce it. But yeah, it's always up to the government to take on initiatives, but I hope they do it. And of course we would eventually be distributing the same to our neighbors and to the far European regions as well.
Mhm. Amazing.
um, yeah. On the hybrid threats that we are facing up in this technological driven world, how are our two nations are leveraging this Indo-Israel cyber center for excellence to protect this sort of a critical infrastructure from state-sponsored cyber warfare and from the other non-state actors in the region?
I mean, that's what Israel does best, I think. Cybersecurity, it's our product. It's what we thrive on, as long as part of many others. But if IMEC would cover ports, custom procedures, energy projects, and so forth, then we are talking about infrastructure that needs to be protected against the cybersecurity threats. The question is how to integrate the cybersecurity into IMEC through this kind of initiative, as you mentioned, between the Israeli initiative. So it could be joint threat intelligence, cybersecurity, some joint cyber exercise for port authorities, protection of infrastructure related to energy and data cables. That's what we do the best. And I think it's one of the most important elements of the IMEC infrastructure in the end.
Yeah, I will also add to that that, as I said before, we see our work in the IMEC also in the ecosystem level, and we're actually part of our job is to make connections between Israeli companies and Indian companies, Israeli companies and companies from other countries in the IMEC belt. So we can. It's sometimes it's really important to frame projects. If we frame the cooperation between companies from both of our countries in the IMEC framing, so it's a great framing for corporations. And we are now approaching startup hubs in Israel and working together with them to see what solutions they can provide. Some of them are cyber. We talked with you in the past with RLA and with other partners in India about companies from India. They can be also from cyber, and we will make connections in the cyber sector for the IMEC specifically, and then from that point it can go to other, let's say, sectors or needs. But IMEC can really frame those corporations in a good manner, and we can use this framing for great connections between the companies between our countries.
All right. As we come to the conclusion of this session, I would like to post three questions to both of you. Uh, One is on what are the immediate actionable, excuse me. One is the what are the immediate actionable steps that you would recommend to policymakers and stakeholders to advance the IMEC corridor? Is first. Second is with reference to the India-Israel bilateral relationship. So, how do you see this relationship going forward in next decade? That is the second question. And lastly, I would like to conclude with the question of: do you think this West Asian region is moving forward towards a more restored balance of power, or are we entering into more of a unstable, fragmented regional order? You could take turns in answering all these three, please.
I will take the first one about actionable steps. As we see it, as I mentioned, the IMEC need to be marketed more, that businessmen would understand that it's worth to go through this route business wise. Okay, a study needs to be done, and we're working on it as well. And we are working on many elements that will be in the long term. We know that the crossing needs to be upgraded, etc. But we really need to see what we can do as an immediate step. So to bring more goods to the crossing from Europe and from the Gulf, and to push, it's physically pushing this bottleneck to open, because when the operators of the crossing will see that there is the potential is higher and the demand is bigger, they will also go to the government and find more monies to upgrade the crossing. What is happening now is a chicken and egg. If you check 10 years back, so you see that the crossing was very prospering, especially during the Syrian war. Companies from the Gulf and Jordan used it very much. They took the cargo from Jordan and from the Gulf to Europe through Haifa port and vice versa. And then, 7th of October and prior that it a bit declined. Now it's time to put it back on track. And definitely a good marketing and higher demand, which can be made very fast, within a few months, will enhance the process of upgrading the crossing in a medium long term. And also we also see that we can start adding a small measures of security, etc., that are required at the crossing and are not currently exist. So we are working on that as well, to provide with the government officials with these companies who can implement these measures. We just working on connecting these companies, these solutions with the government, in order to promote the crossing to work more efficiently and more fluently.
Yeah, and I will add on the last question that you asked. I agree with you. The future will involve the fragmentation of the region, but with that, it creates new area of collaboration and alignment and connectivity. I mean, look at all the players right now in the region. Iran remains a disruptive power yet. Gulf countries seek stability, investment, and diversify economy, and eventually global relevance. Israel requires integration and security, and India seek way to go into Europe without getting involved into regional crisis. I mean, you probably seen us and with the goggles and see like how can we bypass that. Europe requires alternative to Suez and to the Red Sea. Thus, we are unlikely to return to the balance of power, but initiatives, as we spoke about, like IMEC, can provide limited stability to the region. If there are actors who benefit from maintaining a corridor, it creates its own stability factors, and the region might remain unstable, but the corridor could become a stabilizing instrument in the end.
All right. Just one question is just unanswered on the India bilateral relationship. So, how do you see this bilateral relationship going forward in next decade? We have actually focused more on the security aspects, more of an agricultural aspect, cyber security, partnerships. These are few traditional aspects of this cooperation. But apart from this, are we looking at more of a non-traditional cooperation, such as pharmaceuticals, electronics, drones, on those lines?
So I will tell you from my experience, I think that we need to start from the basics. Okay, I worked for 4 years in SanDisk, which is it's an American company, but you can say it's half Indian. Okay, because I worked with Indian colleagues, very great colleagues, and the basics are. I know that the delegations are coming from Israel to India and from India to Israel, but I think it needs to be done more. Delegations, which will by them the people will meet face to face and will get to know one each other. That will lead to cooperations, to maybe building factories, more factories in India and in Israel. Indian factories, it already happens, but it can be more. So to make the story short, I think that the personal communication and knowledge between Indians in Israel can be strengthened, and both sides should work on that. And it always can be done definitely through business. Business is the catalyst of connecting people, and that just needs to be done more from my point of view.
Yeah, and Alexei, would you agree with me that our deepest connection, I think, with India, it's on the cultural side? I mean,
Yeah.
so much of my friends and myself went to India after the army, visited the place. I mean, we both of us are one of the ancient civilization that ever existed and now thriving. There is some understanding about life, about how to create more thriving society with your and our culture, and I think that's a great basis for Israeli companies want to go to India and to India to integrate with Israel. I mean, that's the language that we speak on the spiritual side. Even if I say that can be one of the, as Alexei, you mentioned catalysator. I think that's one of the greatest catalysator in the end.
Yeah, you
I think
see that we have similar celebrations. You know, Diwali and Hanukkah. I think so. We have
Boom.
very much in common, and we both, as I said, both the countries just can make much more to promote those relationships.
I think no matter what the technological advancement that we are going through, India would actually stay connected through the civilizational roots that we have come from, because that is what is our identity, and that is what we have given
Exactly.
to the world on first place.
Yeah.
With that, we have come to the conclusion of this wonderful discussion. Alexei and Yonatan, thank you for joining us here for this incredible discussions that we had today. And
Thank you.
thank you for all the work that you guys are doing at the IMEConnect and bridging the gap that exists in the West Asian region. And for our audience, thank you for tuning in today. And I am Vanchinathan Y. We'll see you in upcoming episodes up ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Vanchi.
you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.